C.R.P.H.A. I'm the owner of C.R.P.H.A, which is conservative, Republican, People's Humanitarian Advocate, or straight across, whichever, however you want to put it. On the 23rd, both myself and a number of my other constituent advocates stopped over at DOR. And of course, there was an orientation going on while we were looking things over, you know, and after my constituent advocates split, I stayed around. And of course, there was a person, a male, of course. I don't really care what the dude's name is, but he came out and he started saying some whacked out shit to basically impress the women. Most guys do this type of shit. I don't anymore, because what's the use? If the woman likes you and wants to truly be with you, she'll tell you straight out. And she'll show you. She'll give you even signs, looks, motions. She'll even talk to you in the sense that she's interested. But of course, when she makes a simple conversation, doesn't really mean that she likes you. Someone to talk to that knows what she's talking about. But beyond that, as I got to talking to this dude, the dude acted like that he was so knowledgeable and so well, um, basically statured, if you will. That he worked in the state capitol building in the city and state of Sacramento, California. But one particular thing showed and proved that he was full of shit was the fact that it doesn't matter how many people dislike our current president, being Donald J. Trump, and how many people support and like our president, again, Donald J. Trump. And just because he's not part of the Liberal Party, the Liberal Democratic Party, which obviously this person was obviously a kiss butt of and a voter of the Liberal Democratic Party, the very person I was talking to. He had the so-called intelligence in his mind, of course, but in reality is stupidity and ignorance and incompetence, among other things. By saying that this state was voted in the election under blue. Trump has no say-so and control over what happens in California and to California. If any of you believe that and agree to that, you do not know politics as much as you think you do. You don't know the real aspect of politics, do you? Because when Reagan was president, of course the state was probably red at that point. The state of California was red at that point. But beyond that, if any points from George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr., those two, any of those two to start with, where the state may have turned blue, and I'm just saying may have. I don't remember exactly, but it may have. It doesn't. The whole aspect is Those who believe just because a state turns a certain color during the presidential election, it doesn't mean that the party that was voted in, even if it's not the same, even if it's not a Democrat, regardless of the color of what the state turned into during the election, the voting process, it doesn't mean that even in this case, just because the state turned blue, that Trump or any other Republican candidate that was voted in the White House doesn't have any say so or control of what happens in and to California, even in particular the so-called sanctuary status that California is supposedly in currently. But the basic fact is, those who believe that, even if the person that said that to me after he got out of the orientation on the 23rd of August 2018, he doesn't realize that anybody who's in the White House has say-so and control over every state in the United States, regardless, and I do mean way beyond regardless of what color the damn state turned during the voting process in the presidential election. The president has every say-so and control of what is done to and in the state of California, in the state of Nevada, in the state of Oregon, Washington, and Washington, D.C., Minnesota, and so on and so forth. Even in the islands of Hawaii, because they're all part of the United States. The White House is the cornerstone of control of what happens to every state economically, in its finances and budget when it comes to the federal aspect to start with. And if at all we get any assistance federal wise, especially. And if we get any help in any way, shape, or form outside the confines of the state's own government within the state itself, because the state's government cannot do all the things that the United States government can do. The United States government has more say-so and more leverage than the schmuck even realizes. And so anybody who's in that White House, known currently with Trump in it as the American People's White House, if a liberal Democrat's in it, it's not known as the American People's White House any longer. It's known as the control rod, where the liberals would be able to destroy this country, in which basically that's exactly what happened under Obama. And that would have happened if Hillary Rodham Clinton would have done. She would have not only taken out the Fourth Amendment out of the current Constitution of the United States, also known as We the People. That was one of her plans as president to do, with the agreement and backing of the Liberal Party, the Liberal Democratic Party. And also, while negative things were happening in the state of California, whether it's earthquake, whatever, you could see her doing this. Twiddling her thumbs, sitting on her sorry little fucking ass, doing nothing. But acting, oh, she so cares, when she really doesn't. Obama doesn't really give a damn about this country. He may claim that he does. He may even voice that he does. But the basic fact is, as long as he has money, He can care less about anybody else in the United States. The only people he's worried about is him and his daughters and his current wife. I'm surprised. I'd like to see what would happen if, and I'm not saying that it will happen, but if he did anything stupid and illogical, that Michelle Obama would leave his ass. I wonder how fucking powerful he would feel even then, and so confident and so sure of himself. I wonder if that would lessen. Because obviously with the current feminist movement and the Me Too movement, women are trying to overpower the male gender. Women in the ERA had more common sense. The ERA made more sense in the feminist movement than the current feminist movements do. The current feminist movements are basically bitching and moaning because they don't feel like they're being essentially appropriated fairly, which basically when it comes to wages and various other things. But yet in divorces, the court system backs the woman up to where the male is drained of his finances to where he can hardly survive for himself and by himself. They let they let the woman get away with practically shit. Even if the guy's making the amount that say retailers give you, or the amount that say factories give you, whatever moderately high to low and or moderate wage paying aspects that the father or husband or while and during the divorce soon to be ex-husband would be making. The women who divorce the men are getting away with practically draining the guy for almost everything he has. And the court system's allowing it. Bad move. So generally, here's one thing too. If you watch a number of shows, like there was one known as the Sopranos on HBO. Yeah, I remember watching a clip of this. The woman wanted to divorce her husband, which was one of the main male characters of The Sopranos, and she wanted more entitlement. Basically, that's another part of it, of what the feminist movement is fighting for currently. Even in the Me Too movement is siding with them, but in a different aspect. But here's the one thing. Women need to wake up and realize the level of entitlements is not going to change. It's always been leveled equal, whether even if it looks this way for men, in the high point for men, and the moderately to low point for women, it always will be like this. For women to try to get more than men is not reality. It's not logical, and it's not realistic, and it will never happen. So women need to wake up and smell the fucking coffee and realize that. You want to live in a world that you think you'll have more entitlements than the guy. Might as well go fly over to Never Neverland with Peter Pan. But yet, oh wait a minute, that's right. Peter Pan only exists in a storybook or in Disneyland's fairy tale cartoon. You could have easily been born, for the women who want that, you could have easily been born as a little pencil sketch. But Heavenly Father doesn't allow that now, does he? He doesn't appropriate human beings that way now, does he? He appropriates human beings like the way we are right now. Flesh and blood, breathing. So basically the feminist movement of today is complete nonsense. Illogical, non-reality. I know, but and I know that they think that they're doing what they find to be realistic and factual and logical. The more they go about that, the more they go down that line, the more basically humanity suffers because life is too precious. One, life is short. Two, yes, we may be able to find ways to live longer, but not long enough. Obviously, we're not Q from Star Trek, The Next Generation. We're not Lieutenant Commander Data. Also from Star Trek: The Next Generation. We're not R2D2 from Star Wars. We're not C.R.P.H.A from Star Wars. You get my drift, I hope, ladies. So basically, women want fairness, women want equality, women want fairness when it comes to wages. In the sense of the working world out there. I understand that. Believe me, as an advocate, a human being, yeah, and yes, and as a man, I do understand that, and I respect that. But they're going about it the wrong way. And also, suing a company ain't going to help them much either. It's not going to solve any. It's not going to solve anything either. And also the aspect of when it comes to fairness and whatnot in relationships. You know how many blue pill men there are out there, ladies? The ones that think that they're basically they will do practically anything and everything to get to be with you to the point where you can treat them like shit and they would kiss your feet and then you can take them for everything that they have and they would basically live with it. Some of them, the ones don't have any common sense or even respect for themselves. There are men out there like that still. Sad. I'm not one of them. I'm a logically minded, strong, confident, self-assured person, and knowledgeable as well, as you can tell. Yes, I was raised by women, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I'm going to go basically to the basic of blue pill male. No freaking way. Getting back onto what I was saying earlier, this one dude over at the DOR office in Citrus Heights, California, thought he knew what he was talking. He thought he knew a lot of shit. He thought he was really knowledgeable and all this stuff, right? If he actually truthfully has the inclination by thinking that Just because this state, the state of California, turned blue, that the president of the United States, regardless if he's liked or disliked, it doesn't matter, that he has no say so what happens to and in the state of California because it turned blue in the election of 2016 to start with. Guess what, dumbass? It doesn't matter what color any state turns due to the voting process in any presidential election. Even if the Republicans win the election as they did in 2016, the president in the conservative Republican and or regular Republican or even moderate Republican, they have say so if they help the state of California, if they if they if and if they decide to have anything done in the state of California. The president of the United States has more power than Jerry Brown himself. The president of the United States will have more power than any other future governor. The president of the United States has more power than fucking Pete Wilson did. The president of the United States has more power and more leverage than Darrell Steinberg. The president of the United States has more power than Dianne Feinstein. The president of the United States has more power and leverage than Barbara Boxer. It doesn't matter what liberal and non-liberal politician in any state. The president of the United States has more leverage over the politicians in the state's government. So basically, you who said the president has no say so in what happens to and in the state of California. And I work in the Capitol, so I should know that much. If a person works in the Capitol, they would know that's a load of shit. Plus, on top of that, anybody in the Capitol has way more intelligence than that dumbass who voiced it. And the person who voiced it, if anybody were to tell him that an advocate under C.R.P.H.A. talked about him on on and about the day that he went to the orientation, which is on August 23rd, 2018, and I saw him in the afternoon while he was trying to make himself look good in front of women. Basically, he looked like a fucking chump. No woman wants a person to act all big just to impress them because they can see, most of them can see right through you. You didn't know that, did you, dumbass? If the person's watching. Yes, I was raised by women, but I know a lot more than you will ever, regardless of age. Yes, I may be older than you. But even when I was your age, which possibly, what, 20, 30, 18, 19? I don't really care, but even then, I knew way more than you do. If, again, the person's watching. Or if anybody that knows this person I'm referring to is watching. And the basic fact is if the person wanted to come up to me face to face, so be it. I just called him out. I just humiliated his ass online. I can make anybody look bad who acts like a complete idiot. who thinks they know shit that's not they, and try to act like, oh yeah, this is true of what they say. He already knows I'm an advocate. If you ever has the brain power to even remember that aspect that I said, I am an advocate, and I wasn't wearing this though. So generally, those who believe that what the schmuck said and agrees with the schmuck, you are now educated to know that the dude was bullshitting, acting like a complete idiot, dumber than Goofy. Which way did he go, Jude? Which way did he go? Type of thing. Everybody knows, even sensible, more more realistic voters of any that are supporting vote have voted for any side of the political um, genre. They know that the president, regardless of the party, regardless of the political party, has more leverage, more power, and more control over what happens in every state, regardless of what color the state turned during the voting process, during the election, the presidential election. And if he keeps on trying to convince people that I'm bullshitting, look it up. Yes, the governor of the state of California and many other states have leverage over us, citizens, to a point within the Constitution of the United States and within the state of California, in the state's own constitution. But the governor does not have more power and more leverage than the president of the United States. And it doesn't matter that California is currently under the unconstitutional stature of sanctuary. It doesn't matter if the state is sanctuary. The president of the United States still has leverage of what happens and what does not happen, especially when it comes to federal funding for any state. He could easily. He's even said the current president even said that any state that turns sanctuary, he can easily make it to where the federal government part of the government does not send any funding to the state of California or any state that is under the aspect of sanctuary, and the president can do that. And I don't, and it doesn't matter how many times the court system will try to fight it. But hey, guess what? The court system in California is not as strong as the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is way stronger than any court system in any part of the United States, within every state that Supreme Court has more leverage on that aspect. And if Jerry Brown wanted to go against Trump on that, guess what, dude? Guess what, Jerry Brown? You ain't gonna succeed. And I want to thank the Supreme Court for not allowing the not allowing the state of California to be voted to the points of separating the state into little sections, because that would make it way more difficult and way more costly than any liberal dumbass politician realizes. It would make things harder for the citizens. It would make things harder for the state itself, to the points to where the state would be nearly to completely bankrupt. And of course, with Jerry Brown's project known as the High Speed Train, the way he went about that is nearly bankrupting the state of California already. And also, what's also hurting the state of California, and he doesn't, and Jerry Brown doesn't realize this, and I know he won't acknowledge it, and I know he'll try to deny it fully, but the basic fact is that the high tax plan. When he first announced it, oh yeah, he's all saying that it was supposed to help California in some way, or in a number of ways actually, right? Even before that thing went into law, every company, Mervin's, among others, have either gone completely bankrupt, belly up, or completely non-existent to the points of right after going completely out of business, or have left the state altogether. And the ones that, and I've said this, and I know I've said this before, pardon, the companies that have wanted to come into the Western market, many of them, I'm sure, have wanted to come into California first off before they went into any other Western state. Due to the population situation within the state of California to start with, which would basically help employ those who are still looking for jobs, even our teenagers, both male and female. But with this stinking high tax plan, and the companies are not willing to risk it, and I call that smart. So Jerry Brown, and I've said this before, the high tax plan is not supporting and it's not helping California and its citizens in any way, shape, or form. So you should be impeached right away because you're not benefiting California in any way, Jerry Brown. Neither is Darrell Steinberg. Of course, Gavin Newsom isn't really benefiting California either, and yet he wants to be from lieutenant governor to governor. He ain't gonna be benefiting California even then. So he's delusional on that aspect. But of course, at the same time, the person I talked to over at DOR after he got out of the orientation situation, he's delusional, as if not more so. Deal with reality, shithead. Like I said, if the person that said all this baloney to me while I was over at DOR, if he sees me and he wants to confront me and try to act all big shit in front of women again, that'll just show how stupid and in how shall we say, brain dead he is really, and he's not well informed in any way. He's not knowledgeable in any way. I mean, basically, if he is, he hasn't shown it. Even by saying, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, doesn't have any say-so of what happens in or to California. Wrong. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, can easily say what happens to California. And he, like I said, he has more leverage than Jerry Brown. He has more leverage than Darrell Steinberg. He has more leverage than Gavin Newsom. He has more leverage and power than any of those, any politician within any state, like I said. So get that in your little air brain if you have brain. And you know the one thing is that the dude that said this shit to me, right? Because of the state turned blue type of shit, right? He didn't want to hear the truth because I was about to educate his ass. I would have told him, guess what, dude? From the beginning of time, regardless of what color the states were in any election, any presidential election, the president of the United States, regardless of the party, has say so what happens to and in the state of California, and and the president of the United States has more power and leverage than the governor and the lieutenant governor and any other politician in the state of California or in any state for that matter. And if you want to believe what you voiced out to try to impress the women, you're wasting your breath because you're a load of shit and they know it. The women knew you were speaking out a load of shit. And if any of them believed you, believe me, they're as brain dead as you are. Yes, I'm an advocate. Yes, you saw me at DOR. And yes, I know more than you. And yes, you are a complete idiot. You want to prove that you're not? Come on. I'm an advocate. I support people's beliefs. But when they voice it the way you did, dumbass, just to quote unquote try to impress women when you weren't really impressing anybody. You just wasted time and breath by even voicing that bullshit. Nobody's fault but yours. So if you want to confront me and try to act all big shit, come on, come on. I'm not kidding. You want to act like you're all big shit if I see you over anywhere, even over at DOR or wherever else? Come on, look for me, and if you find me, come on, face me. I'm a longtime citizen of the state of California, born and raised. I know more than you will ever. And of course, so do my daughters. And yes, I have daughters, but I'm not going to tell you what their names are because I would not allow any of my daughters to be with a brain dead liberal kiss ass. Yes, they have their choices, but hmm, I want my daughters to be with somebody that has a lot more common sense than a person that believes that what that one person voiced out over at DOR, which is known as Department of Rehabilitation. I said my piece. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wondering if the or anybody that knows him is watching this, and may tell him. And if he's actually gonna have the cojones, balls essentially, to even try to step up to me, step up to the plate, face me, find me first. He thinks that he knows more than I do. If he thinks that he knows more than I do, and he doesn't want to waste his so-called little time. He's just too chicken. He knows I'm right and he knows he's wrong. So basically, whether he wants to act like he knows more than I do, he's only lying to himself, and he's lying to those who know him. And then hopefully those who know him know that I'm right of what I said when it comes to the political stature of things. And I know even if they try to tell, yeah, I know that even if the people who know him try to tell him, he won't listen. People who are so sure of themselves when even if they're told that they're wrong, they don't listen most of the time because they always go by what they want to always believe what they know and what they voiced is an actuality. Everybody else is a bullshitter. That's basically how most of them think. They won't admit it straight on, but I know that's exactly what they think. And on other news, many people know that by now anyway that Orchard Supply Hardware was acquired by Lowe's Hardware, Home Improvements essentially, um, in 2013, and Lowe's decided to close all 99 stores of Orchard Supply Hardware. The well-known hardware store, way more well-known and trusted than Lowe's themselves. Lowe's, you made the biggest fucking economical business move and mistake by doing that. Even though you acquired them, and if you looked at their history, if you looked at the Orchard Supply Hardware's history, in all honesty and actuality, you would know to keep the Orchard Supply Hardware stores and expand them from 99 on to a higher number. And if you were in any economical difficulties or hardships, you would close a number of your stores. I'm sure that's exactly what Osh did when they were being operated under their own company. Then they went. Then eventually they were able to grow to the number that they had, which was apparently 99 at this point. So Lowe's, by closing a well-known hardware store and what would be also seen as your competitor, regardless if you acquired them or not, you, Lowe's, home improvement hardware store, made the biggest fucking mistake, and you will eventually pay for it. Your stock will your stock will only go so high, if it does at all, or it may go even more down. I'm not gonna say. I mean, even though I know, but I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna let you suffer like many other companies that made the biggest fucking mistake, like Sears did, and like um, many other companies have. Eventually, they learned that they did something wrong somewhere, but they didn't take the time to realize to even look it over before they went into the action. What would happen years beyond that point, even after the very last store would be closed, even if they acquired another company's stores, or even if they closed a number of their stores, they don't really look at what would happen from years ahead from that point, which basically makes the company go completely to the point of non-existent. When they think, oh yeah, if we do this, we'll still be able to survive, even in the years beyond from now. That doesn't always ring to be true. But of course, just like the management of Circuit City, after Alan Wurtzel, the son of Sam Wurtzel, stepped down, the management found out, oh yeah, we know what we're doing. Oh really? The company of Circuit City, which was then formerly known as Ward's TV stores, sold appliances eventually. Besides TVs and stereos, eventually, of course, Ward started out with TVs first off, then went eventually to appliances. Then went and even went into VCRs eventually, after acquiring a number of other companies that were in the same retail industry of electronics. After Circuit City, after that, then of course the Alan Wurtzel and his constituents uh, renamed the company from Ward's TV Stores to Circuit City and Company in the 80s, the 1980s. And of course, it was flourishing still. The only fuck up that happened was right after Alan stepped down by opening a number of stores, not paying attention to the ones that needed maintenance, upkeep, restructuring. And on top of that, eventually they thought they'd do better without with getting rid of the appliance part of the company of the stores, which basically more than hurt their bottom line in sales to start with. Then of course, with the fact that Best Buy was suffering, they had an option to Circuit City had an option to acquire the company, but they didn't. They didn't. They thought they were doing fine by themselves. But I'm not gonna. And is in the actuality, people may say that Best Buy, or even they may even believe that Best Buy is the reason why Circuit City became non-existent. No. What made Circuit City non-existent was the operation within the central corporate office. And again, after Alan Wurtzel stepped down, it started going downhill ever so gradually. And after they got rid of the appliances, then they started coming up with Fire Dog and Divx and all those stuff, and yet they were competing with Blockbuster with Divx. Okay, they lost they lost their bottom line on that one without even considering that all the money they put in that damn thing of Divx to start with, they would never receive back in sales, especially with what the cost that that the company put out to advertise it on live television. But the one thing they did, which was, yeah, maybe, shall we say, a secondary survival point, was to open what is now known as CarMax, which is almost like Avis, the old rental car company, like Avis and Hertz and Enterprise and what have you, but much different, where you actually can own an a pre-owned vehicle. In some respect, maybe more lower percentage cost than what you possibly would get in a dealership, possibly, depending on on various numbers of things, or any number of things within that sense. So Circuit City is only surviving point is CarMax. But I do remember by watching the Great Dagon video. One employee in the corporate office talked to Sam Wurtzel, and Sam did a visit and a run through of things, and even in the current operation at that point before he passed. He told one employee, "Don't let them fuck up my company." His, that's the way the employee worded it, and that's could easily be the way Sam Wurtzel himself said it. Who's to say? Except for the only person that really truly knows is the person that talked to him and heard him say it. And I'm not saying it's false. I'm not saying it's true, but no one really knows except for the person. And I'm sure at this point he's still turning in his grave because of the stupidity that the operation of the company after Alan Wurtzel stepped down caused the more than demise of Circuit City, formerly Ward's TV. There was around the moderate part of 2000. Um, there was talk about possibly the ones that bought and that currently own the rights of the name of Circuit City. There was talk about maybe having Circuit City do a comeback, but in this case, to be the size of what was known then, what was known for even then as the size of a Radio Shack store. Of course, each store would sell things in only different things in different stores. It wouldn't be one big store like it was when Circuit City first was uh, was around and in business. And of course, that idea hasn't really materialized either. I mean, if it has, it hasn't reached any other part of the United States. If it has, I'm not saying it did or didn't. No one really knows. And of course, there hasn't been any business reports about it either. So now Jerry Brown has a choice: either take down the high tax plan and the sanctuary state and city thing, which is unconstitutional. The sanctuary state and city sanction is unconstitutional. And right now, Jerry Brown's historical aspect within the state of California is looking way worse than it ever has. The only time Jerry Brown looked good was in the 1970s when people also nicknamed him as Moonbeam Brown. But right now, his historical aspect is looking very, very negative and more than grim. And he doesn't see it that way, obviously, because he's so brain dead himself. And I know Donald J. Trump would agree with me on that. And which basically, of course, C.R.P.H.A. and myself, I support and back Donald J. Trump, both president and the person himself. 100%. Hell, even more than 100%. Donald J. Trump promised to work with and for those who didn't vote for him and those who did vote for him. Donald J. Trump also promised to give America back to the American people where it belongs. The liberal politician known as Obama never made that promise because he knew he would not be able to deliver. But Donald J. Trump will deliver. And I don't care how many naysayers there are that don't like Donald J. Trump. I don't care. But the basic fact is, you will find that this country and every state within the country, including the Hawaiian Islands, will be better with Donald J. Trump in the White House as our president. Things do take time. As I've said, things do take time. But in the whole hindsight of every aspect, Donald J. Trump is the best, equal to Reagan. And I mean Ronald Reagan, the 1980s president. And again, the person who talked with me and acted like he's a complete idiot. If you want to confront me, come on. If you think you know more than me, and if you think you can back up what you said over at DOR, come on. You looked like a complete idiot in front of me and the women. You may not have seen that you look like a complete idiot, but women won't tell you straight out if you were a complete idiot, and if they knew that I was speaking logic and truth, and you were speaking a load of shit, they won't tell you. And I'm telling you, they won't even admit it, even if you ask. So if you want to try to prove that you were right, come on, confront me. I mean, confront me. You won't be able to, because you're too damn chicken. And to those who know that I speak the truth, and I have spoken the truth on every C.R.P.H.A. video, even under the former name of N.C.H.A. I've even spoken the truth even under that name of the advocate, of an advocate named anyway. NCHA was Northern California Humanitarian Advocate, but now it's under C.R.P.H.A. Conservative Republican Humanitarian People's Humanitarian Advocate. And I will always speak the truth to and for the American people and to and for this beautiful country of ours. For our troops who have returned and who are still out there, I salute you and thank you for your service. And for the veterans that have served and fought for our country, in service for our country and for the American people, I salute you and I thank you for your service. And for those who are missing in it, were MIA, quote unquote, missing in action, but still fought for our country, I still salute them and I thank them for their service. The ones that are not named, and for the fact of not knowing their names and where their names were not known, basically the quote unquote known aspect of John Doe and Jane Doe type of thing. I still salute you and I still thank you for your service. And if anybody wants me to advocate on anything and have one of my staff members advocate for you on anything, please let me know on the comment thing below. And subscribe to this channel, and you'll get more content when you'll get a notification of when there's another topic being brought up or suggest or discussion, whatever. And also ring that bell too. It'll help you get notified. Thank you. Have a good day, and may Heavenly Father bless the United States of America.